Hey. Before I get started, I want to show you guys a couple of drawings that I've done in this isometric style. This is actually some Legos that I put together and then I drew it in Procreate. This is actually the same thing, it's just stylized a little better. This was actually a straight up doodle. Like I just kind of got on my iPad and started playing around. And Procreate has these guides that allow. And here I'll show you. If I go into this one, right? This is our living room, and if I show you on Canvas, we can do a drawing guide. And as you can see, there are these. And there's different kinds, right? It's called isometric or 2D or perspective. And yeah, so that's the style that I was going with. Here's a couple of different ones as well. Kind of a futuristic looking style. And as you can see, here's another one. That's kind of neat. As you can see, there are one, two, three, four different um, yeah, drawings that I made of mom and dad's house. And this is the finished product. And I really hope that you like it. As I was drawing it, I created a wireframe. We're going to watch the time lapse here in just a second. But I noticed that their house, if looked at properly, creates a heart. And I thought that was kind of neat. And I made a drawing of it real quick. And that's it. So let's jump into here. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go up here to time-lapse replay and we're going to watch this whole thing. So yeah, here I am. I'm starting off with essentially just based off of memory. That was my very first sketch, going off of memory. And very quickly I realized, I got to make things 3D. I've got the wall 3D, I've got the windows 3D. And very quickly, as you'll see here in just a moment, I actually asked, there it is, I asked mom and dad for the blueprints to their house. And the first thing I did was I traced out their floor plan. And then I started doing measurements. And, my goal at the beginning was to make this as accurate as possible, to make the walls and the corners all very rigid and straight. As you can see, all these measurements. And if you noticed the finished product at the beginning here, completely different. It was quite a work in progress to try to figure out how I wanted this art piece to turn out. So we will watch. Excuse me. We'll watch here as you go through the different stages of basically the different iterations that I went through to come up with our finished product. Okay, so here we are. We've got a three-dimensional floor. I start building out this wireframe as a guide. I've got a reference point down in the lower corner there, and just getting all these measurements I thought was important because I figured if I have the measurements and I've got all the wireframe in there, then I can just kind of build things out from there, and they should be relatively easy from there. And that sort of was the case. I mean, I redrew this house so many different times that, I had known it from memory. And then I really knew it from memory. So here I am. If you noticed just a couple seconds ago, I had sort of a color palette that I was going with. And then I used this down here as a reference point as to how I was going to use different shades and highlights for each of the walls. Um, and it helped at first, but here in just a moment, you'll see that I start to do the interior walls, and they proved to be a little more difficult. So I had to take a step back and reevaluate not only how the colors were being portrayed on each wall, but also the colors themselves. I just didn't like the colors that I was using. I'm not really sure. I don't remember how I settled on this color palette, but I ultimately ditched it and went with a different color palette. that's a couple minutes from now. So, all right. So I was trying to set up some guides for myself. You can see I quickly did a what do you call it? A furniture setup with just different shapes, and then those green squares are exterior doors. And then here I was trying to figure out, okay, I want to show the bedroom, but I want to show that there is a wall between the bedroom and the living room. So I figured, oh, let's like make it half a wall, but like make it stepped. And that didn't work out. Uh, so that was me trying to do that. Here comes the couch and then the television. And again, you can notice things are very rigid and straight. And if you notice the final product, it's just not like that. And I like that the final product came out the way that it did. It's a lot more whimsical, a lot more kind of playful. So a little more homey, if you will. So there goes the bed. A lot of these initial sketches that I ended up doing um, were based off of complete just memory, right? Like I'm just putting in what I think works. Um, and then a little later on, you'll notice this is me playing with. Did you see that with the couch? I was like, what if it wasn't rigid? No, no, it should stay rigid. And then I ultimately did end up going with something a little more rounded, the edges being a little more rounded. And there's a setting in Procreate that allows you to, as you're drawing a line, it makes it straight for you. And that setting I had on because it worked for me in the other drawings that I showed you at the beginning of this video. It just didn't work for that for this project. So I'm glad I was able to play around. Yeah, just trying to figure out how these colors were going to work. I didn't want them to clash. I think yeah, I had four different colors to play with, but it still wasn't enough. And it was either that I didn't have enough or I wasn't using them correctly. But I ultimately did figure it out. Kind of going into this blind, you can even see up here in the top corner, I have an arrow pointing straight up because as I was working on this project, a lot of the times, you get in to do a detail and you twist it and you turn it like this, and you see like things just, it gets kind of confusing the perspective sometimes, right? So I had to keep sort of figuring out, okay, where's the top? How do I do this? As you can see, I initially put in the laundry room and the pantry, but ultimately ditched those two rooms. Also, ultimately ditched the coffee, what do you call it? The coffee nook or whatever. You can see I've got window panes in the windows, which I thought was a nice touch. Um, you can see how the color palette is just, it's kind of really, it's not very good, at least in my opinion. So here I am putting in the garage, and I figured I'd put in, one door, but I ultimately ended up ditching that as well. And Dad's library was really fun because of the shape that it is. And here are the closets, but I ultimately ditched those as well. You can see I had a wall in the kitchen. So here I am. Okay, so this is when I finally figure out I want a different color palette. Actually, this is the same color palette. It's me trying to figure out how to best use it. Uh, and because of the clashing, there's the same color palette. Because of the clashing of the highlights and lowlights, I started putting in sort of these um, in the corners, right, where the corner comes out or the corner goes in. I was trying to figure out how to best do that. So here I am. I'm resketching everything. for a couple of reasons. So I didn't like that it was so rigid. I wanted something a little more whimsical. And then I used two different wireframes to set the height so that everything was um, accurate as best as possible. I had some trouble with the doors because the interior doors were much smaller than the exterior doors. And at this point, we were like well into December. So here comes the new color palette, by the way. Not only a new color palette, but I'm trying out different brushes. Try to figure out like I wanted something more playful. Um, so there's the new color palette, and you can see these highlights going in and the shadows, low lights going in. Still trying to figure out a more playful brush. Um, oh, so what I was getting ready to say is we were well into December at this point. And I was running out of time because I knew I wanted it printed and framed and sent to mom. And um, I I basically was just like, let's just get the furniture in, right? Like I don't care what it looks like at this point. I've already redrawn all the walls 100 times now. It feels like I could probably draw it with my eyes closed if I tried. Uh, let's just get everything in and we'll figure it out from there. I ended up ditching mom and dad's bathroom. Didn't really need that, especially when you have those walls. You know, it's important to have those walls because otherwise it looked like the bedroom was part of the living room. Um, I liked these art pieces going in, like little tiny thumbnails. The rug there was real fun. All the mirrors were real fun to put in too. Here I am playing with the shadows, getting more furniture in. The living room being sort of like the focal point of this whole thing because it's in the center of the house and this is the center of the drawing. Um, so you have the most furniture, most visible stuff there, as well as the dining room set. So this not mural, what do you call it? The collage of grandkids that mom has in the hallway. I thought that was really fun to make. And then this the reflection in the mirror in the bathroom was fun. I mean, this whole project was fun. It was a lot of fun to put this together. I hope you guys like it. Where are we at now? I'm just now thinking, I wonder if I put the window panes back in. So the floor was real fun too. I got to play with a couple of different brushes, and a handful of different colors to make it look like that. I used um, the same stylistic features on the interior house floor as I did on the sunroom floor. I just changed the color. All these different details in mom's craft room, all the different art and stuff that they have on the walls, uh, different boxes and stuff. I mean, the pegboard for the tools in the garage. How fun is that? I mean, all these little tiny details. I sure hope that this piece of art, you know, hangs on your wall and people actually look at it and study it and find all the fun details in it because it was a lot of fun to put this together. Um, so here in a minute, oh yeah, mom's chair. That was real neat to put together. So here we go with the kitchen. Got the cutting board. I moved that sink over, put the dishwasher in and the stove. Um, I asked Erica and Rose for some feedback because here in just a moment you'll notice that I think I'm done. And they mentioned putting some stuff outside and making some more details in the library. And I did put things in the library, but as far as the stuff that Could have gone outside. I really wanted the house to be the focus point. Focal point? Focus point? Focal point. Yeah. So I I made the outside sort of a backdrop, right? You've got trees and um, just land and whatnot, the driveway, and I think that it definitely adds to the popness of the house. Yeah, I see that I put those window panes back in, so that's good. Um, so now I'm doing the sunroom. I've got that red chair in there and all the shelves. Here comes the other light that goes in there. And then all the plants were real fun. Again, just like the floor and all the different details of the stuff hanging on the walls, the plants were real fun because I was able to play with a couple of different brushes, different colors, and just filling that space. And I think the details are what brings this whole project together. Maybe next year I'll have to do the bunkhouse once that's nice and finished. So I'm just adding a couple more touches to the inside, and you'll notice that the outside is about to come in. So I've got the hill on the left side. Fixing a couple of perspective details in the garage. Making it so it looks like it goes down a hill. And then we put in the driveway and the forest in the back. And we're just about done. Oh, and so the details for Dad's library. I had a lot of fun with that. Um, I mean, it may not be to scale, but putting those books in, each book and the two different bookshelves and then the posters and stuff on the wall, that was good. It's not quite pixel art, but it's just about there. So I hope you like it, and thanks for watching and listening, and Merry Christmas. All right.